All right, let's bring her on. She is a co-host on the A Little Help for Our Friends podcast. She is a multi-time guest on this show, and we're having her on again to talk a little Bachelor in Paradise and a life update. It's Jacqueline Trumbull. Hey, Jacqueline.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good. Nice to see you.
I'm trying to think if we do the life stuff first or we do Bachelor in Paradise stuff first. I'll let you decide. What do you want?
I don't care.
All right. Let's do life stuff first.
Okay.
I last had you on in February.
Mm-hmm.
And in June of this year, somebody got engaged. And it wasn't me.
It was me.
It was you. So congratulations on that.
Thank
So
you.
let me ask you a few things about it. Number one, I know it was the day after you, what is it called? Defending your dissertation? Or did I say that right?
Yeah.
Okay. You defended your dissertation. The next day you got engaged. Did you know it was coming?
Not that day necessarily. I certainly had suspicion. I mean, since we're long distance right now, it was going to be one of the upcoming visits. And that seemed like one that made sense. He tried to throw me off the trail by hinting that it was going to be in New York. So I thought it'd probably be in New York, but I was like, this would definitely be a contender day.
So where were you when it happened? I thought you did get engaged in New York. I thought he came up for the weekend because you defended your dissertation there.
No, I went down to North Carolina to defend because I go to Duke.
Oh, well, I knew you'd been in New York, so I didn't realize you were still involved with Duke at all.
Yeah. The New York thing is the last year of the PhD. They make you go somewhere else, but you still have to like defend with your home institution.
Oh, okay. So you didn't know it was coming, but you knew it was coming. You just didn't know it was going to be that day.
In the moment, I was surprised, but I mean, the day before I was like, I had made sure to get a good manicure. We'll put it that way.
I was thinking about this because I would think, most people, I would think most men that are proposing want to surprise their wives. Some have to go to great lengths because wives can be like, I know it's coming and I want to figure it out or whatever, and they don't like to be surprised. But you also, when seemingly when you get engaged, somebody is there either secretly and wanting to take pictures. So when you're surprised, if he tells you beforehand, hey, get dressed up tonight, then it's almost kind of obvious. But then you also don't want to be wearing like shorts and flip-flops when you get engaged. So how does necessarily that work? I've never proposed to anybody, but I would want it to be a surprise. But I also don't want them looking just like they're going to the beach.
Yeah,
So,
I was in fact wearing flip-flops, and I didn't love that part of it, but I was not wearing shorts and a tank top. I was wearing a nicer outfit for the rest of it. Yeah, I mean, it was gonna be like I had already booked my wedding venue. I did that with Paul too. Like it comes to a point where I'm like, if we want to get married in the next 100 years, like I've got to book the venue because they book up. So I can't wait for the proposal. So it's not like I was going to be surprised that he intended to propose. I also like designed my ring and knew that he bought it. But he tried to throw me off the track with like suggesting it was going to be, he was like asking me a bunch of suspicious questions about New York. So I thought maybe that, but I am like unbelievably gullible around certain things. Like I just assume that people are telling me the truth all the time. So it just, I mean, it was so obvious in retrospect. Like he proposed in Duke Gardens, which was like very out of the way. And for some reason, he just wanted to go there for like a quick walk. I was like, okay, yeah, I guess that's a normal thing.
Was someone waiting there, friends with pictures, or what happened with the picture part of it?
No, thank God. He had tried hiring a photographer, but actually that was the reason he was like, the photographer was like, you need to be in like a specific spot at a specific time. And he was just like, I don't think that I'm going to be able to make that happen. But friends surprised me at the after dinner party. I did not need pictures given like how I looked that day. It was like 95 degrees out. I've like gained weight and feel insecure about it. And in fact, the way he proposed was after taking a picture of me. And then I started like melting down about how I looked in the picture. And he started saying exceptionally sweet things to me. And I started crying. I was like, wow, he's like being so nice to me, like comforting me for being, you know, a hideous monster. And then he was like, oh my God, don't cry. Cause then he was like, he thought I was crying because I was feeling ugly. But I was actually crying because he was saying really sweet things. And then he proposed.
So now I'm really curious about these proposals.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm just thinking about Bachelor Nation stuff where everything is curated. Somebody's walking out on a beach and everything's set up, but they had to have a hint because they were probably told to dress up. But I guess you could just say, hey, we're going here tonight with so-and-so, your friends or whatever. And then you surprise them with that, right?
I mean, my last fiance did an incredible surprise. So it's just all about what you want to put into it. Like he flew out to California where I was, and I happened to be dressed up because I was in a documentary, and so that all worked out. But yeah, I mean, for this one, he basically said he tried to hire a photographer, but he's going to put that money towards an engagement shoot instead. Because it is hard. Like unless you can, I mean, I think unless you propose at like dinner, then you're already dressed up.
Yeah. But then if you're going out to dinner dressed up, it might already be in the back of your mind, hey, it might be happening tonight. And you just, as a guy, and if you want to surprise her, you want to completely catch her off guard, unless it's a gala or an event that you guys are going to with a group of people and there's going to be a bunch of people there. How do you get away with it where they're looking like dressed up to the nines or whatever? I don't know. I need to figure this out before I propose sometime in my life.
Oh, do you have a lady?
No. Anyway, let's move on. Something also happened before this, and now you're going to have to refresh my memory. About a week before, maybe 2 weeks before, you went traveling. You went to the Netherlands was one of your places, right? And then Croatia, was that another place?
No.
Where's Bruges? Bruges? How do you pronounce it again?
Bruges. It's in Brussels.
Brussels.
I mean, sorry, it's in Belgium.
Belgium. Okay, so God, I'm blanking now, so you're just gonna have to remind me. You went on your Instagram story in one of those places and were freaking out over something. Was it passport related, or you lost your money, or what happened?
I lost my credit card.
Oh, you lost your credit card.
Yeah.
But you were like in desperate need because you needed to pay for something immediately, didn't you?
Well, I mean, I just need to pay for life. The nice thing about Europe is that they use Apple Pay for everything. I feel like here in America, that's becoming the case, but you can't use Apple Pay at restaurants. So I was solo traveling for the first 5 days. So it's like, how the hell am I going to pay for food? But it wound up being fine.
Where did your card end up?
It actually had fallen out of my bag at work. And
so before you even left for the trip.
Before I even left for the trip, because I had taken my bag to work and then it had fallen out there. And I wound up canceling my card. And then like the day I canceled it, I looked down and like there was my card. And already my new card I have left in a bar in a very inconvenient location. So
wait, so you got to those places and you did end up having your credit card? You found it?
I found it when I came back to America.
Oh, when you came back. Okay, I thought you were saying you found it out there. Huh. Yeah, I remember you posting that on Instagram, and I was like, oh boy, this doesn't sound good. You were kind of like, holy shit, what do I do? But then I'm guessing you were getting a lot of responses of people telling you like, no, you should be good.
Yep.
Use Apple Pay.
Oh yeah, people taught me all sorts of things, how to like pause my card and start up my card again, and like all sorts of things. And I was like, I mean, I had been flying for 24 hours, so I came and I couldn't check into my hotel, so I had to like go elsewhere. I had one beer and I was like wasted, and then I was like speaking to these random French strangers on a stoop and trying to use my pidgin French with them. It was a fun day. The rest of the trip was not that fun, but that day, ironically, was the most fun.
Wasn't that because of the weather? Did you say it rained every day?
Yeah, I mean, it rained every day in Amsterdam. I mean, Brussels is not known to be a particularly cool city. I don't love solo traveling. I have no money. And yeah, the weather sucked. So
why'd you do it? Or why'd you go on this trip? What was this trip for? It was just to go? and do something?
Well, this whole thing was because my cousin got married in Amsterdam, and my whole family initially had signed on to this trip. So, and I'm about to hit 50 countries this year, and I needed to cross off a few in order to get there. And these were new countries that I had not been to in Europe. I went to Luxembourg too on a day trip, so I got another one there. And yeah, then my whole family, except for my parents, like wound up not going. And then my parents didn't go to the first half of the trip. So I wound up just solo traveling in Belgium, which was like not ideal. But it's also, it was like I crossed this off my bucket list with Chile last year, but I had traveled a lot, but I had never really solo traveled. And so I wanted to prove that I could do that. And now I have, and I don't need to keep doing it.
And I know you're going to Africa soon, right?
Yeah.
Is that a new country or have you been there before?
I will be going to 4 new countries there. Yeah.
Ooh, which 4?
Namibia, South Africa, Botswana, and Zimbabwe.
And that is a solo travel or friend travel?
Well, my friend Alice was supposed to come with me to the first half of it, and she might, but regardless, I'm not like going to be alone in Africa. I'm joining a tour, like safari group for the first half, and then I'm volunteering on a conservation for the second half, which was like a big ticket item for me because when I was little, I wanted to be a zoologist, specifically Jeff Corwin, and have his career. And I decided to be a psychologist instead. But a little part of me, every time I go to like zoos or, like the Amazon or conservations, a little part of me is like, did I make the wrong choice? So I'm just going to go and, play with cheetahs and baboons for 2 weeks and then come home and be a big kid for the rest of my life.
I didn't ask you about the wedding part. What's the date?
June 24th, 2026.
2026.
It is a Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday. Where is it? Where are you getting married?
In France.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow. Is this going to be a family friends thing, or is this a lot of it? What are you looking at for
around 40 people? So I destroyed my wedding budget on my first Portugal wedding.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I could not have a big wedding. I couldn't have a wedding on a Saturday, and I couldn't have a wedding in the States because those are extremely expensive, which is good. I wanted to get married in Europe anyway. But yeah, weddings in Europe are spectacularly cheap. So
can I ask you which women from Bachelor Nation are going, or at least invited?
None. Maybe Jenna.
I was going to say Jenna and Caroline were the 2 that came to mind for me.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a matter of like who I've been in close touch with recently. I actually saw Jenna last weekend, who I think would actually come, those kinds of things. Like Kendall, I would love to have there, but she just had a baby. So I don't know. I'll just see how the guest list shakes out.
Is she on baby 2 or 1?
Baby 1.
Who am I saying? Who am I thinking's on a second? No. Well, actually, Jenna, she has 2. The second one is less than a year.
Yeah, 4 months old. I just met her.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. So I knew there was somebody that had 2 in your circle. All right. Let's get to what everyone wants to hear about, and that is because that was more of a personal thing. I hadn't asked you. I mean, I had known. We had briefly texted about it, but I didn't know any details, so I wanted to save it for the podcast. All right, let's jump into Bachelor in Paradise, a show that you participated on back in season, I already forgot, 5?
5.
And you were there for a day, and obviously didn't have a great experience. And the show took last summer off, and they came back with a new showrunner. They have a whole new production team. I mean, there's a whole new regime. Like everything we're seeing from this point forward is a whole new regime, like clearly a whole new regime after watching Monday's episode. So
I didn't realize there's a whole new production team though. That's
yeah, everybody's new. Like they fired everybody.
Did they fire Bennett?
Everybody. Yep.
Bennett's fired?
Bennett's gone. Claire's gone. Yeah, Bennett and Claire.
Is Bennett fired from The Bachelor too?
Gone. Everybody. Yeah. Because of complaints against him and Claire, who ran the show. They were the main showrunners for the last few years. And there's a lot of complaints behind the scenes about how they ran things, and they got fired. Yeah.
Oh shit, that's
Yeah.
huge.
So that's why we're seeing what we did on Monday, which is a completely different look.
Uh-huh.
So just the look of it, the aesthetic of it, not talking about the property itself, because I think that's separate. The aesthetic look visually on TV as a viewer. Did you
Yeah.
like it or no?
I did. Yeah, I thought it was pretty.
Did you think it's too Love Island-y, too Netflix-y?
Yeah, I mean, it did look like Love Island a little bit. That didn't particularly bother me. I mean, I thought it was sharp looking.
Well, for sure. And there's a couple of people online that have shown like just clips from a past season, any of the previous 9 Bachelor in Paradise seasons. You just take a clip from it, someone in an ITM down in Sayulita versus an ITM on this show. I mean, it's night and day. Like, why would people be upset that these people look cleaner, fresher? They're given way better accommodations. Like, they actually get into rooms that are, yeah, you might be sharing a room with somebody, but it's
That was mind blowing to me. It's like,
Yeah.
whoa, like
air
what?
conditioned. Like, yeah. So the resort might not be right there on the beach. It might not have a day bed. You're basically staying at a Hyatt/Marriott type hotel in Costa Rica, but it's almost funny to look back on now and think for 9 seasons, why did they put them in such horseshit conditions
It was ratchet.
when this looks so? The hotel itself is just, it's a regular hotel. It's nothing like when you saw that hotel, you're like, oh my God, they look like they're living in a castle. No, it looks like a Marriott or a Hyatt on a beach,
I mean, the shithole conditions probably stirred up some drama.
Yeah, and it certainly added to it. But just looking at it, the way clearly it's shot, not even just the colors of it, and the amount of slow-mos
was
the amount of music that's playing in the background for all, it's very Love Island-y in that aspect. And we'll get to Love Island in a second because I know you have caught up on it and watching in this season. But so just as a first episode, what did you think about the whole shebang, other than it being a little bit too long at 3 hours?
I thought it was fine. I didn't have any, complaints necessarily. I thought it was crazy that 4 people went home at the end. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there were some surprising parts. Like, I was very surprised that they would bring in Sam on a day when they were going to do such deep cuts. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. My overall, like, I didn't have any particular expectations for it. I was hoping the Goldens would come in already. I'm like super stoked for that. I thought they did a great preview of that. But what was your overall opinion?
I was fine with it. I don't have as many complaints as people online do. I mean,
what are they complaining about?
They're complaining about, they're trying to be too much like Netflix. They're trying to be too much like Love Island. And I'm just like,
well, but they probably should.
Exactly. That's exactly my point. You understand how much more relevant Love Island is to the zeitgeist and the pop culture world than Bachelor in Paradise? Have you seen the Instagram followers on the Jeremiahs, the Hudas? I don't even watch this show. I know these people's names. I haven't seen 3 seconds of Love Island. Jeremiah has 2.2 million followers. Huda has 1.4. Nobody on this show. This is Kat Izzo's 3rd show. She's at 98,000 followers. Like, we can throw this notion away that people are going on Bachelor in Paradise to improve their brand.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they think they're going to, but you're on the wrong show, because this show is getting its ass kicked by the streaming services.
Yeah, that is interesting, because I mean, The Bachelor has gotten boring, and I don't entirely know why. But when I asked people online, they were all like, "Oh, it's just a bunch of wannabe influencers." But I was like, okay, but they don't get to be influencers, so
exactly,
what's the deal? Like,
I mean, the people that say that, it's just a lazy answer, and it's just, frankly, it's ignorant, because they're certainly not influencers as they first appear on the show. They might become influencers afterwards, but if they're using it to try and become influencers, I'm sorry. I mean, all you have to do is look at the numbers. They're all out there. Go to Bachelor Data. She's got all of it. It's crazy. I didn't even know this till I really dove into it a couple days ago. Seeing the, Jeremiah had 40,000 followers when he signed up on the first episode of Love Island airing. He's at 2.2 million.
That's crazy.
I don't care who the final couple is on this season of Bachelor in Paradise. I can guarantee you they're going to be nowhere near 2.2 million. They're probably not even going to reach 100,000 by the end of this season. It's just the show is not for that anymore, you know?
It's wild because it used to be.
Yeah.
My season, everyone got, I mean, everybody like who got a lot of airtime got a lot of followers, and now it's like even The Bachelor doesn't hit 100,000 sometimes.
No,
I mean 200,000 maybe.
The leads don't do well at all.
Yeah.
Grant's not even at, I don't think, 300,000. Very few of his women even reached 100,000. You know, it's I think it's a sign of the times. Like, look, that's why I don't fault them for doing what they did. At least they're trying. They're doing something different. And if you, like you said, if you are going to copy somebody, copy a successful dating show that's absolutely killing it in the pop culture world. Like, you can say that, oh, just because you don't have a lot of followers, it's kind of a big deal, because if people are choosing to follow you, and Jeremiah had 40,000 and now he's got 2.2 million, that means that many people care about what that guy is doing, which means they clearly cared about what he did on the show. And if nobody is gaining any followers from Bachelor in Paradise, that probably means because they're not watching you and they don't care what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, the explanation I thought at one time had been, oh, everyone's going over to TikTok. So like Instagram's just not big anymore, but clearly that's not true. So it really is just that The Bachelor is dead.
Yeah. I just think it's certainly not a way, if you're thinking, oh, if I go on The Bachelor and I make the final four, like it was a known thing, probably back to Hannah Brown's season. You get to the final four, you're getting minimum 750,000 followers. Yeah. Now, I mean, you'd have to look at Grant's final four of Juliana, Latia, Dina, and Zoe. I maybe two of them are over 100,000. Like, I'm just doing this off the top of my head. I definitely could be wrong, but I just know these people don't kill it anymore. And, it's because Grant's season wasn't very well watched. So if you're not watching these women, why would you follow them? The show has to somehow get into the pop culture lexicon again. And I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know how it does that.
It's interesting because I always thought Bachelor in Paradise was still a pretty entertaining show, whereas The Bachelor was getting boring. And like Bachelor in Paradise seems much more amenable to revamping. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with the core show.
Do you know about, not necessarily spoilers, but do you know how they change things up on Paradise this season?
You told me about the money, but that's all I know.
Yeah. And I don't even know the actual details of the money, but they showed it at the end when they showed the preview for the full season. They showed a bag and Jesse saying $500,000. So I don't think it's a for love or money deal. I don't think they get down to the final couple, however they get down to the final couple, and say, you either need to choose the money or get engaged, because that doesn't make any sense. Because why wouldn't they just be like, well, why don't we just choose the money and just continue to date? Like that, that would eliminate that.
That's what they did with Bachelor Pad, though, right? It was, you had to.
Bachelor Pad, you had the option. You had the final two people, and then they chose to keep or share. If you kept it, you split it. And then the final season of Bachelor Pad, the woman, Rachel Trueheart, chose share. And then everybody thought her partner was going to choose share, and they were going to split the $250,000, and he chose keep, and he got to keep all of it, and she got nothing.
So it's a prisoner's dilemma. Okay, that's
prisoner's dilemma. Exactly. Yeah. And they're not going to do that for this. Number one, because it's already been done, and they're clearly trying to revamp and do something. This new showrunner came from Summer House. He's done Claim to Fame. He did one of the 90 Day Fiancé shows. So, and look, I'm fine with them adding the little compatibility game, but I think they could have taken it a step further, because they played this compatibility game. Hey, go put a heart on something that you like about somebody that they put up there as one of their facts. But then it just turned into, okay, activity's over. Like,
it's totally true. I didn't even,
There's no consequences. It's like, well, maybe the person who got the most hearts should get a date card. Like,
totally.
Now, I think as the season goes on, because we know there are quote unquote challenges all season long, I think there are some sort of consequences or rewards for winning, but I don't even know for sure. That first one was like, okay, this is something different, but then it was just ended, and it's like, okay, just Time to go to bed. Like it was just
That
nothing
is so
happened.
true. Yeah.
Nothing happened with it.
Also, another thing I think is stupid, and I love this person, so this is nothing against her, but Hannah Brown's role seems very fake. Like, is she just a producer pawn? Like, is she just there to make it seem like, okay, that's just so dumb.
She's there because her name is Hannah Brown and she has the most followers of any woman in this franchise. But
Yeah.
is she going to play a major role this season? No. She's there because her name's Hannah Brown. And a way to get people, I guess, to tune in thinking that she might have a big role. I mean, I saw at least 2 or 3 different ITMs from Wells. Hannah didn't have an ITM, I don't think, in those 3 hours.
Well,
Right?
exactly. I was like, what is that? Because she has such a fabulous personality that if they literally made her the relationship therapist on the show, that would be funny. But she can't just be a producer like plug. Like it can't just be, oh, like you want to set up a date? Okay, I've got you. But actually, it's just production.
And I don't know. I'm sure her role expands. I'm sure she'll be talking to people who come to her with some sort of love query or question, like, oh, what should I do? And I'm sure she'll give advice, but it's just, I guess, just a woman's voice because they've always had Wells all these years. And maybe some of the women want to talk to a woman on the show. So it makes sense to bring her on. But based off that first episode, it's like, I think you're underutilizing her at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Wells' role makes a lot more sense because he's a bartender, so he just makes comments as they come naturally. Bringing her in for like a session is just, it just feels canned to me.
Yeah. And I think there were some things, that was the one thing I didn't like about the show. It almost seemed like there was a lot more, I don't know if acting is the right word, but it seemed like it was a lot more of, hey, like the whole dream sequence with Kat and Dale, that seemed performative. That seemed like, hey, Kat, we have an idea.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you tell us what you dream about with Dale, and then we'll intersplice it with music and Dale putting suntan lotion on his junk, just, and we'll do it that way. It didn't seem like that was natural. I don't know.
Well, I think that it'll be interesting to see what this new version does. I think the old version did a really good job of making those things clearly fake, but in a humorous way. Like, I didn't have a problem with the old format of Bachelor in Paradise. I thought it was very funny. You were pointing out like problems with it, which makes sense, but at least the kind of humor was there. So hopefully that's gonna still be here.
I think the biggest old format problem that a lot of people had with it, because it was what I would hear every season, had to do with towards the end, like bringing people in after the 5th and 6th rose ceremony when everyone else was coupled up.
Yeah,
that was pointless because most of those people are just like, oh, I guess I'll go out with you, even though I probably don't even really have a chance at this point.
right.
And then the other thing being, once they were all done with rose ceremonies, either Chris or Jesse saying, all right, you have to break up or you have to stay together. It just does. And that's what they get rid of this season. So that definitely will help. So I guess we just have to wait and see how it plays out. But that seems to be a major, major format improvement than past seasons. Like when you came in on your season of Paradise, did you have options of who you could go out with? Were there very few?
I mean, I came in really early, and this was the bizarre thing. I expected there to be more, but first of all, they basically handed me 4 people to talk to. And 2 of them were, I mean, okay, so it was Colton. He was already coupled up and like in the midst of a panic attack. And then Eric Bigger was also already coupled up and made that pretty clear in my conversation with him. I was like, okay. Kenny was single, and then David Chicken Dude was coupled up with Chelsea. I could have gone for him. I just thought he had a really aversive personality.
Okay. And then you ended up going out with Kenny.
Yeah.
But then how did your stuff start with Jordan? Did he come in after you?
No, we met offline. We met on Instagram.
But he was on that season, wasn't he? Or no?
Yeah, but I only lasted 24 hours, so he came in after.
He came in after, and then you guys just connected after that. Okay.
Yeah. He butt dialed me recently, by the way.
We did?
I was like, I bet he had a heart attack when he saw that.
How random. When was the last time you heard from him when he didn't butt dial you?
The day everything crashed and burned.
Yeah. So that was. So what year was that? 17? 18?
Must have been 18. Yeah.
God, you believe that was 7 years ago?
Yeah. I can't believe I was on the show 8 years ago. That's so long.
That is. It's a long time.
Yeah.
You're on your second engagement since you were on that show.
I know. Like those people who are on that show.
Yeah, exactly. So the twist of this season with the money involvement, again, since I don't know the exact details, I got to believe that every single person out there is probably pretty fired up that it's like, okay, so it's not just push these people to get engaged. Come on, you got to get engaged, you got to get engaged, or we need an engagement. Now there's something to play for on this show. So I feel like, at least in future seasons, assuming Bachelor in Paradise doesn't end with this season, I'm assuming this means that people will be more inclined to want to go on Paradise because it's not just, just going to have to possibly get engaged to somebody. There's a money aspect to this.
Yeah.
I'm sure you would have liked that, right?
That would have stressed me the fuck out. I'm almost glad that didn't exist, because then I would have had to watch somebody I know walk away with $500,000, and because I'm just not. I never enter into that kind of sphere and assume that I have a shot. There's just some. I don't know. I'm not competitive enough, so I just know it would have just stressed me out, and I would have decompensated.
Yeah, and I'm still, like I said, curious on how this does end up all working out in the end with these people. I do know that once we get to, okay, no one else is coming in, and they have, I think there's 6 younger couples and 3 golden couples, then they just start voting each other off. I just don't know in what form. Is it based off how you perform in a challenge, and maybe the bottom 3 teams in that challenge are the only ones up for people you can vote for, or if it's just a free-for-all? That's the stuff I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to find out, and I don't know how the $500,000 works. I just am pretty sure that it's not a for love or money deal. Just wouldn't make sense to do it that way. That's not what this show's about. Even though they're de-emphasizing engagements now more so than they were in the past, it's still, they want people to find love and people to leave as a couple or whatever, and then let's see what happens post filming. But
the interesting thing about The Bachelor is that it seems like it should still have some sort of niche. Like Love Island, and granted, this is the first season I'm watching it. I think it's the dumbest show I've ever seen. And it's not for love. People are getting voted off because they're coupling up. Yeah. So, and then, Love's Blind is interesting, but all these, The Ultimatum is an incredibly cynical show. It's just do you want to destroy your relationship for fame? Okay, welcome aboard. That's a terrible show. It's very entertaining though. There's another Temptation Island, incredibly cynical. Again, it's do you care more about fame than you do about giving CPR to your relationship? Then welcome aboard. The Bachelor at least is a genuine love story. The problem is its track record is horrific. But at least it's kind of classy, and you're watching a real love story. It's the culture encourages love
more so than those shows that you brought up.
Yeah,
where they more thrive on breakups and drama.
Right.
Now, granted, The Bachelor has drama, but ultimately at the end, there's usually some sort of love story. Whether or not you want to believe it is a different story in and of itself. But it's what they're aiming for.
Yeah.
You talk about Love Island. I watched the first 3 seasons when it used to air on CBS. And then the second it went streaming is when I stopped. But you see the popularity of it. They're in season 7 right now. And I just know it on the periphery based on what I see on the headlines on the entertainment sites. Like I said, I know Jeremiah's name. I know Huda's name. I know Amaya's name. But I couldn't tell you one thing that's happening with these people. Although I know Huda and Jeremiah were coupled up early on, and people said that she was too clingy or something like that. And and then he moved on from her because he made out with somebody else in a challenge, and she got really upset and she pouted or something along those lines. Is that somewhat right?
I can't remember if he made out. I mean, I'm sure that they all have to make out with somebody else in the challenge. I think what actually happened was that they locked in very early. She told him that she was a mother. He said that he was okay with it, but secretly looked for every reason that he could find to lose interest in her. She sensed that, got anxious and insecure, and then started acting crazy. And then he had his reason. And she was looking for reasons to be anxious. So I just think they just fell apart.
Is she still on the show? I don't even know.
I'm not caught up completely. I'm on episode like 22 or something like that, but she is where I am.
It's a serious commitment for that show to be a viewer, because
I'm learning that. And I did not realize that when I started. And 12 episodes passed with nothing happening, Steve. I'm like, the only reason I started watching this was because Kibby talked about wanting to recap it on our podcast. So I was like, okay, whatever. It's been a while. Like I just binged all of Lost. So I was like, it's been a while since I haven't done reality TV. Then I start watching this and I'm like, these people are the least admirable people I think I've ever met. Further into the season, I sort of changed my mind about that. But in the first couple episodes, I was like horrified for our society. And then just nothing happened for 12 episodes because they do an episode a day.
Yeah.
And not that much happened.
So then what is the appeal? Why is this show so fucking popular if nothing happens? It's gotta be.
I don't know. Well, you watched the first season. I've heard that the first seasons were much better. And I've heard from a lot of people that this is like a particularly bad season. But
I think the thing that I've heard is the complaint that people have is kind of what you said earlier, that if you're coupled up, you're getting targeted. Right. It's just like, okay, but I thought you wanted people to couple up. And then now the people that are on are just looking to win. And that doesn't really bode well with the audience because they kind of want to see someone win who can also form a relationship.
But the thing is, it's completely unclear to me as a viewer what winning means. Like, I understand that you win money, but how do you win money? How do you stay on the show? If it's not by coupling up, then what is it by? Because it doesn't seem to be not coupling up either. Like, that's not a good route. So, I mean, and there are people, and they keep talking about how important it is to explore and like take the show seriously, which is fucking ironic because like out in the real world, we have a crisis of that. Like, no, could people stop exploring maybe? But even then, even when they couple up but still explore, then they can still randomly get sent home. It's like a completely chaotic universe with no rules. So it just sort of seems like if you make it to the end, it's because you're lucky. And that's not that like interesting to me.
And seemingly when you get to the end, I think the other couples that are left vote on which couple they want to win because it's not voted on by the public, I don't think. I think the other couples that are left at the end of the show vote on, or maybe it is voted on by the public and they vote on the winning couple. Yeah, I think it is, at least what I remember from the first 3 seasons. They get down to whatever, 3 or 4 couples, and then America votes and the winning couple wins money, but they don't necessarily have to be a couple that even has to talk to each other once the show ends. And I think in the beginning, and maybe in Love Island UK, people say like, yeah, the people that are voting at home are voting because they really fell for these couples. They saw their journey, whether they were 2 people that were there from the very get-go or somebody entered a quarter of the way through, whatever the case is, you're voting because you absolutely appreciate these 2 and you like to see them together. Whereas what you're describing seems to be, hey, everybody there is just trying to have a partner to get to the end with and hope that America votes for them.
But not even that, because you can't, if you have these people, okay, voted this was why Jeremiah and Huda broke up, by the way. This was the one moment of phenomenal TV that Love Island showed. Love Island had America vote on who should leave, okay? And America very nearly voted Huda off, even though she was in a very strong couple with Jeremiah. So Huda is faced with, oh my God, I'm coming on this show and I'm really, really into this guy. And now America doesn't like me and are kicking me off, even though I've made a really strong connection. Okay, so she narrowly gets saved, and then Jeremiah never comes to comfort her. Like, I would have a fucking breakdown over that too. Okay, but But then a couple days later, Jeremiah is booted from the show because so he broke up with Huda, but then met another girl and got really into her and started coupling up with her. And then the other Islanders were like, "Oh, he's not taking the show seriously enough. He keeps locking in with different women." I'm like, that seems like the definition of taking the show seriously enough. You're like trying to form real connections.
So did America vote Jeremiah off, or did the other house
The
guests?
Islanders did.
The Islanders did.
The America voted to keep some people safe, and then the Islanders had to choose of the remaining ones which
to vote. So the Islanders were turned off by Jeremiah coupling up with a second person. They thought
Correct.
that was
correct. That was the explanation, at least.
That's where it comes in. Of well, then what are we here for? What are we filming?
Yeah, exactly.
What is this? Seems very confusing. I don't really understand the show at all, and I don't want to dedicate 6 days a week to it. I'm sorry. I did 6 years ago, but
yeah,
it's too much. And you mentioned something there that has nothing to do with reality TV. You just binged all 6 seasons of Lost?
Hell yeah! I rewatched it. I had seen it.
Rewatched it.
Yeah.
What did you think? Did you have any different opinions the second time around, or this time around?
Oh yeah, I did.
Why? Okay, so what are your different opinions, and why were they different from what you first remember?
Okay, so I always loved the first few seasons of Lost, and then I remember thinking it went really downhill, and that the ending was really disappointing, which I think is what a lot of people think. Okay, well then you might agree with me now. I rewatched it. I still thought the first 3 seasons were excellent.
They were.
Then I thought it was either season 4 or season 5 that got a little weird with Daniel Halliday. There was just it was going off the rails a little bit, but I think it got back. I did not care. The thing that I found disappointing, and I think a lot of people found disappointing about the first, when you first watch it, is that it threw a lot of like plates in the air and didn't really catch all of them. And when I rewatched it, I knew that, and it didn't bother me because the characters were so good. So like the character development, and then the ending I thought was beautiful. Yeah. Like with Jack's whole arc and the whole like sideways plot, and I thought it was I like cried like a baby.
I think the first time around, you got to remember it was in the early 2000s. And I think it was more about, because we didn't have social media. People couldn't go on Twitter and talk about it every single week. I think there were ABC message boards back then that people went on to talk about Lost. But I think the complaint just more stemmed around everybody wanted answers to every single, like you said, plate that was being thrown in the air. And the creators made it known, like, that's not what this show is about. You don't need to know why we chose the 6 numbers that we did. We're not going to answer every question. This is about humans connecting on a level, and the afterlife and purgatory and all this stuff. It was more about interpersonal relationships than it was about answering who the fucking polar bear was. Like, but people got upset at that. No, I understand. I thought, and you also got to remember the final scene of season 3, when Jack and Kate are at the airport and Jack says we have to go back. And for 3 seasons and every single episode, everything that we had seen in the show was a flashback. Mm-hmm. And then all that episode, you're just thinking, oh, we're seeing another Jack flashback. He was, this was what he was before he came to the island. He got, hopped up on pills as a doctor. He got kicked out of his office, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then you see that scene and he sees Kate. And then first off, when you see Kate for the first time, you got to put yourself back in 2000. You already knew what you were seeing when you rewatched, but that was one of the most confusing moments ever in TV history, because nobody understood right away. Some people might have said like, is this a flash forward?
I hadn't remembered it. So it was also confusing to me.
Okay. So, but from that point forward, we were like, oh shit, now we can go in a completely different direction, because now we know flash forwards are now part of the story. We'll still have some flashbacks, but we'll have some flash forwards as well. And then all of season 4 was about getting to that point of Jack and Kate at the airport. So season 5 was the one that got way too confusing, because they were doing too much time jumping. They were all over the place.
Yeah.
In time. That was when they were moving the island and all this stuff. It got a little too confusing in season 5. I do remember that. But I liked the ending in the beginning, because I felt like this is what it's about. This is about the people that you meet in your life the relationships you develop, and when you die, you're going to see them. I was
Mhm.
fine with that, but so many people were upset, and they just, I don't know, they didn't like it. You
I
know?
think I was also just being a wiener back then. I was like super into atheism, and so I was like, "Oh, like this is like a Christian." And it wasn't even. It wasn't even
No,
a Christian ending. So, yeah,
no, because it was in a church, probably is why you thought that. But
yeah. But if you pay attention when they first walk into the church, they have every religious idol like set up on the shelves. There were like
oh,
Buddhas and all the Hindu gods, and yeah.
oh, I didn't even. Yeah, see, I haven't seen it in years, but I know that if I did a rewatch, I would start doing deep dives about things, and I was just like, no, I don't want to. I liked it the first time around. Season 5 was the one I was like, that got a little too confusing, but I just remember I remember that final episode of season 3 and that last scene, and I was just blown away. I was like, because nowadays in TV shows,
Mhm,
so many shows do time jumps and
mhm.
do flashbacks. Like this was the first show to do something as risky as what they were doing. Like every episode, you saw a flashback of a character, and that's how they told the story of how you get to know these people rather than just stay
Right.
on the island and film stuff and you reveal stuff that way. It was like one of the first shows, like every episode to do a flashback. And then to get that flash forward, even though for the first 55 minutes of the episode you're thinking it's a flashback, like it was brilliant TV. It
Mhm.
was awesome. I absolutely loved it.
It's
And
awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
Matthew Fox I thought was excellent in that show.
No, and people don't like it. People don't like Jack. Like he was supposed to be a frustrating character, but he was ultimately a really good character. And Locke, oh my
Yeah.
god, that was just a constant dagger twisting in my heart.
Because they butted heads the whole show.
Mhm.
Like it was man of faith versus man of science. Like that was what the whole like those two were the main characters of the show, and Jack had his beliefs,
Mhm.
and obviously Locke had his beliefs. But that
Mhm.
whole thing when we found out that Locke was dead, and the whole time it's just like so many twists and turns, and it was
Mhm.
just a show that was ahead of its time. Now we've just seen so many things that are probably copying from Lost over the years that since then that nothing right now would really blow you away like that show did.
Also, it had to have the hottest cast of all time.
They had they had so many people on that show that were extremely good looking. Yeah.
Extremely good looking. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was, and at that time, again, it was just the first episode, the pilot episode, was the most expensive pilot at the time in TV
Mm.
history because it looked like a mini movie with the
Mhm. It did
plane and the
explain, yeah.
yeah. And I remember reading a book about this, and not a book about Lost, but a book about broadcast network television, and it's called Desperate Networks. And one of the whole chapters was dedicated to Lost, and they said they had this idea. It had been in the works. A couple of networks had turned it down. ABC said, "All right, but," and they said, "We need a budget. We need it was like $2 million just for the first episode because it was just this almost movie like production." And then they shot the show in Hawaii.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, it was just that's great that you rewatched it. Do you remember any episode that stuck out to you? Then when during your rewatch you were like, that was one of the best episodes I've ever seen.
I don't know if I have, like, a good enough recall to remember episode specific, but there are certainly scenes,
Storylines. What about
like Charlie's death,
yes?
the, Daniel Day Kim, Jin and, Son's death, the scene where Sawyer kisses Kate and then jumps out of the helicopter,
Yes.
all of Locke's past storyline where it's just the most pathetic person who just keeps wanting love and people just keep shitting on him. That like made me want to jump out a window every single time I saw his flashbacks. Because he wasn't pathetic. He was like a good, smart guy. He just wanted love and kept getting shit on. It was so sad.
Well, I think the oh shit moment that maybe put that show on the map. I think it was the third episode, which was Locke's flashback. It wasn't until the third episode that we realized, wait a second, there's something different about this show or different about this island,
Mhm.
because we find out in the very last scene he was in a wheelchair before he got to the island, and now he was walking on the
Right.
island. And then you were like, whoa, wait a second, what is this island? And then for 6 seasons, we realized this island has powers. But again, something that you're watching the whole thing with Locke, in that episode and seeing all his flashbacks, they clearly made sure they didn't show that he was in a wheelchair. You know, he was just constantly being shot from the waist up. And when they showed that at the end of the episode of him looking at his toe and moving his toe and then standing up and then going to help Jack, you're just like, oh, wait a second, this is gnarly. Like, this is something's going on here. I need to tune in next week to see. And then the next week would let you, like, they'd always have the storyline of what's going on the island, but then focus on somebody's backstory. And it was just, yeah, it was such great storytelling. I think the one that jumps out to me, I can't remember if it was season 4 or season 5, was the time jumping. And this involved, you said Halliday, Daniel Faraday was his name.
Sorry.
That's fine. Was the Desmond and Penny? Remember that one?
Yeah.
Desmond and Penny.
Desmond.
Yeah, Desmond and Penny, but he was he was in the past, but his brain was in the present, and then he would flip.
Yeah.
And then he meets Faraday on the island, and Faraday tells him, "You have to go here at this time." And then he sees Penny and says, and then that's when he tells Penny, like, "I've been looking for you," or she says, "I've been looking for you for 3 years."
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was.
Every character had a hero's journey. I mean, it was so well done in terms of characters.
Was there any character that of the main ones, that you were just like, I put them behind? Yeah. Yeah, I'd say of the main ones, probably Claire, now that I think about it. I can't remember when she was off. Didn't she get killed?
No, she made it to the end. She got like brainwashed or whatever by the Dark brother. And they all left the island without her, and Kate took Aaron, but then Kate returned to find Claire, and they did find her. She'd been alive all that time. She just had like crazy matted jungle hair.
Oh gosh, I don't remember that at all.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I don't remember that storyline at all. But what's his face was a great villain, Ben Linus.
Yeah.
He was a great character on that show. Like, until
the end, you still didn't know what side he was on.
Yeah, and what didn't the final scene or the final scene at the church, Hurley asks Ben to help him run the island?
Oh yeah.
He basically asked for his help because basically Jack put Hurley in charge of the island.
Right.
And
right.
Hurley
Yeah,
said yes.
He did help. He did help. But then, the final scene in the actual show was Jack was going into the church and passed Ben, and somebody passed Ben. They're like, "Are you coming inside?" And Ben was like,
"No,
I'm gonna sit." Yeah, because he knew he didn't. He couldn't reach paradise. He hadn't cleansed himself of his sins.
Great show. Probably talk about it forever. Anyway, there was one other thing I wanted to mention, and now it's completely slipping my mind.
Well, one thing that I noticed was that this has to be the skinniest cast I've ever in recent history. Not a single boob in sight on Bachelor in Paradise. Meanwhile, I'm binge eating Indian food, smoking weed. It's legal here. And I'm just like, oh no, all of these girls are so thin.
Wait, nobody on the show has boobs? What? Huh?
Yeah, they're like wire thin. They're so thin. I mean, they've got beautiful bodies.
Oh, okay. I guess I'd have to think of. I'd have to think of the 6 women that are on the show. Let's see: Zoe, Jess, Lexi, Kat, Lexi. Yeah, they're all. And I don't want to say. I mean, I don't want to say anything derogatory about Zoe because it's not like Zoe's a big girl or a thick girl, but of the 6 that are there, she's probably just because she's taller. But
pure muscle. That girl is like muscular.
She's in shape, clearly.
Yeah.
So, but the other ones are, like you said, they're almost rail thin. But all attractive women on this show. I mean, look, to go on this show, you almost have, they don't just, let's face it, they don't ugly shame on this show. They don't cast women that are conventionally a 5 if a guy were to rate them between 1 and 10.
But it's interesting because Love Island is clearly opting for very curvy women. So it's just something I noticed. I was like, oh, like society seems to be opting more for. I mean, I was raised in the stick thin generation,
Yeah.
but it was just, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I've never, like I said, I never watched Love Island, so I didn't know what they tend to go for. I mean, I've seen the pictures of these people online, but I wouldn't know them by their bodies as I would the
That
Bachelor
big
people because
butt.
I've watched them in a couple seasons that they've been on.
There
But
was a twerking competition on Love Island.
I think there's one on Paradise this season too,
Oh my God.
but it's more like humorous.
Yeah. No, the twerkers on Love Island were exceptionally good.
Wait a second. I think I've seen because it shows up in my feed on some. Weren't they literally like twerking on somebody? Like a guy was sitting in a chair and the girl would have to put her ass in his crotch area or in his chest, and
That was a different competition. That was a different competition. Yeah.
okay. But the
But yeah,
twerking on Bachelor in Paradise, I think, literally is just they just get out there and twerk. You don't have to twerk on somebody. I believe.
I just cannot tell you enough, Steve, how that alone would keep me from ever going on that show. Like that is my worst nightmare. I can't twerk. I don't think my body is capable of moving in those ways. And like having to like perform sexiness is just woof. Like that would give me so much anxiety.
I'm curious to see how they do it this season with all these challenges. There's going to be challenges, some sort of quote unquote challenge every episode.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of are there rewards, are there consequences to these challenges? I guess we'll find out.
Who do you think is going to melt down? I call Spencer.
Well, judging by the previews, it looks like Kat.
She breaks down again. Oh,
because
no.
she gets called out by Sean. Yeah. Sean shows up next week. Oh wait, no, the women show up next week because we're down to 6 women and 6 guys. So next week, women show up, guys have the roses, and accordingly. But based on the preview, Sean was on charity season. So you would remember. You won't remember him by, I don't think by name, but once he comes on the screen, you'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that guy.
Yeah.
But in the preview for the trailer for the season, he literally is calling Kat out for you're just here for clout or whatever, and then we see her walking away crying and saying, "Get me out of here! I don't want to be here anymore." Or whatever, you know.
Well, she's probably here to resurrect her reputation, but as we said, no clout.
Redemption arc.
Yeah.
But right now she's at as I checked last night, she's at 98,000 followers. This is her 3rd show. Like I clearly.
Mm-hmm.
If she is on there for clout, it's not working. And maybe she isn't. Maybe she's just more interested in they did show it in the first episode. She talked about, remember, they put her texts or the messages that she had received because she had got a lot of hate on season 9 of Bachelor in Paradise.
Very poorly.
Yeah, she was treated pretty roughly by the public. And then she had she got engaged to John Henry, and then they broke up. So I don't know when those messages came, but she basically said, like, yeah, my mental health was not great after last time, but I'm here to have fun. So yeah, I'm sure she wants to get a redemption at it. Sure.
Yeah.
Whether it happens, we'll see. So
I mean, this show is also just, it seems fun, right? I think people just go on in part just because it's like, why not?
And now there's money involved. So you don't have this pressure of like, do I really have to like stay together with this person once the show ends?
Right.
And it doesn't seem like you do. So anyway, Jacqueline, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. You can listen to her on A Little Help for Our Friends podcast with Kibby. What have been some of the last couple episodes? What you guys topics?
We've been taking a really interpersonal focus lately. So we've done like explosions and how like different attachment styles can affect your partner's self-esteem. God, what else have we done? I'm like looking it up. I talked about actually my dissertation topic, which is mentalization and borderline personality disorders. So like, how do we read each other's minds? How do we understand each other? Co-regulation. Yeah, a lot of like romance and partnership and interpersonal stuff. I've been training in couples therapy this year. So, and she's opened up a new business kind of focusing on that kind of stuff.
So once you are settled in and move back to North Carolina and start opening up your own practice, or will you work for?
I'm going to work for somebody first. I still have to do what's called a postdoc, which basically means I have to give someone half my money. But I'm very excited to have money to give somebody half of. So,
what is your specialization going to be in once you start working for somebody? Do you know yet?
I mean,
You have to declare it.
No, I don't have to declare it. I'm going to be doing like half couples work. My specialization thus far has been in the like trauma personality disorders realm. I'll probably continue that to an extent. But it's just hard to have a whole caseload of like really, severe clients. So, anxiety, depression, all that kind of thing. But probably my biggest area of training and expertise is in trauma and PD stuff.
So like if you wanted to be a couples therapist, is there a certain number of hours you have to deal with to be able to license yourself as a couples therapist?
No.
Okay.
But I will have those hours. I'll be doing a ton of couples therapy.
Okay. Nice.
Yep.
All right. Jacqueline, thank you for coming on. Appreciate it. Take care. Congratulations on the engagement. And we'll be in touch.
All righty.
Bye.
Bye.